Hey everyone, welcome to the Overpass Live. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now the reason we do this live stream every week is a lot of the times we can't answer the questions that everybody has, or we might want to look at individual applications, and it's better to put it to the group as like a virtual mastermind than it is to just try to answer everything myself or to answer it in the comments. So it's really great when you guys all show up once a week, and we never know how long this would take. I'm going to try to keep it to less than an hour today, because sometimes it's an hour and a half, sometimes it's an hour. So we'll do that. Also, it's been a really good week. I want to talk a little bit about the repetitive Google Play policy, because I haven't done anything on that yet. I don't know how much more time I have, but I know that we need to start looking at that just in case, and hopefully. We don't really know what's around the corner. Are we going to get removals? Are we going to get suspensions? Are we going to get, what's going to happen? But hopefully, because it's a new policy coming in place, we'll get removals or some sort of warning that we can go through and then update these things. And an upcoming video, we're talking about the removals, suspensions, or what's the other one? When your app is removed, suspended, or rejected. So we're talking about that. And and one of the things is if your app gets removed, it's not as bad as it gets suspended, because you could just re-upload the new one. So we'll talk about that a little bit tonight. Also, my ad mob has been really well this week. I don't know if you guys have found this, but it's been higher than normal. Not a huge amount, but it's been really good. And also we got a new client, and we've been doing the videos all week, so we talk a little bit about that. So first of all, hey Hussein, thank you. Hey Hussein, welcome. Azimuth PH, thanks. Hey everyone from the Philippines. Hey Flighter 1990, glad you could make it. Emilio, every time I see your avatar, you got those aviator sunglasses on, which I think looks really cool, but you should change it up once in a while. I mean, I'm thinking about going for the whole aviator sunglasses and goatee look too, because I think it looks pretty badass. Jennifer, hey, how's it going? DOS Games, retracted. Ulysses, hello, hi from Mexico. Oh, where in Mexico? See, I grew up in San Diego, which is, my house was like 5 miles from the Mexican border. It was like just above San Isidro in San Diego, right? So we always... from the street where I lived on, you could look up the hill and you see the lights of Tijuana. I know Mexico's a huge country, but you always think one day, if I was ever going to live in another country, I think Mexico would be another country besides England or America. I think it would be Mexico. Flighter 1990 says, have you had any app ranking problems in the previous week? I have not. In one day, I dropped to 5th place to 180 for the main keyword of my main application for no reason, although I did not make changes. It could be a competitor. Should we have a look at that? Let's see. Ride for Food. Hey, how's it going? And didn't receive any negative reviews. How can I fix it? I think just keep plugging at it. I mean, it's really difficult to know how to fix the Google Play algorithm, because we don't know why it's doing what it's doing, and we don't really know. It's always in flux. The App Store is always in flux. Most of the time, it's new things being added, but it could also be things being removed. And like we talked about before, with all the removals and the repetitive content policy, hopefully there'll be less apps in the App Store, and only the ones that we really care about are stayed in there. So, Ulysses, I'm not almost Mexican, but I wish I took Ulysses. I took Spanish like so many times in school, and I never learned any of it. I mean, I learned bits and pieces, but only the swear words from my friends, I guess. Azimuth PH, as for the latest Google policy, my apps were not removed after updating them. Contents are the same, but the codes and the ads are different. Yeah, I'm really thinking about that. What's going to happen coming up? Because to be honest with you, I've turned a blind eye to it in the last week. It wasn't. I've got an email I want to go through here from KP, who asked me to talk about something, and we'll look at that. But it's all about the repetitive content policy, and this could be the calm before the storm, or it could be nothing coming up. So we'll find out. True Dreams, hey, how's it going? Ulysses says, I want to learn about campaigns in Google Ads, Facebook Ads, and Instagram. Could you do something like that? Yeah, we could. Let's talk about that a little bit. So it's been a while since I've done. I haven't done an Instagram ad except through the Facebook. So I think I did if you do the Facebook ads, you can go through and set your targeting, and I think you can select Instagram as a facet of that. So rather than have to go to Instagram as its own separate entity, when you go do and set up Facebook ads, you could do it that way. So Billy, hey, how's it going? Diallo, hey, how's it going? Hey, what do you think about the Udacity Android Nano Digadry? I don't know what that is. Does anyone else? Udacity. What? I don't even know. I'm even blanking on Udacity. I was thinking Udemy. Ultron. Have you mentioned you start at 4:30? How many hours do you sleep? All right, Ultron. To be honest with you, since the summer started, like over the last few weeks, when my kids are getting up, they're getting up. I've been sleeping in, so I've been sleeping in until about 7, right? Which is really strange. So I'm trying to fit everything into the workday. So I've been doing that for the past 3 or 4 weeks, and I am feeling like I'm not getting as much done, right? But I'm trying to see. Every so often, I'll read something that says, if you get less than 8 hours sleep, it's going to result in obesity or whatever, mental dysfunctions. But then you just don't have enough time in the day. So I need to get back into that, getting up at 4:30. I've been staying up later, and that's probably the big thing. And for me, late hours and early hours are completely different. Early hours are dedicated to what I'm working on. Late hours are, maybe watching TV. Maybe I'm a bit too tired to do anything really constructive. So I'll, it's like if I go to bed earlier and wake up earlier. And when I was getting up at 4:30, I would still go to bed around 10:30 or 11. It was really hard, but a lot of the times it was just keeping moving. Like it's like if you've ever stayed awake for a long period of time, like longer than a day, you know that everything's going okay, everything, and then you sit down for like a minute, and then you just start going, oh God, just like it just comes back, like you're reminded. It's almost like if you don't eat for a long time and you're just completely, it's out of your mind, but once you smell some food, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was starving. So Syed, hey Eric, have you built any kind of machine learning thing in your app? No, I have not, and I want to. And I talked about it before. This is one, I'm like fascinated by machine learning. Especially something like, I would like to use it for Chinese character recognition. So we have the Chinese learning apps, and I want to have something where you could draw the characters and it would recognize what it is, or make sure that you have the right stroke order and things like that. But we haven't done anything like that. It's almost something that's probably so common that there are already TensorFlow like libraries or models out there that we could use, but I haven't really done anything like that. So let's see. True Dreams, have you ever thought about investing on other apps? Yes, I have, and sometimes people will ask me about it, but it depends. I would invest in an app. It depends on. I would have to see it first, and also how much traction it has. So if it's something that I think is a really good app, and it has a really good development team, but it maybe just lacks a little bit of marketing, then yeah, I might invest in that. But or the opposite, like it's got a lot of marketing and it's got a lot of traction, but it just needs a developer, then yeah, that too. But it's got to be something like the other party in that has to bring something to the table that is more than I could do, and so I haven't done that yet. So Sushant, hey, how's it going? What do you think about Flutter? I love Flutter. This is what happened. We got a new client this week, and we're going to do his app. I'm not sure. We're going to probably use React Native, but I was like, I want to use Flutter, but it's either I learn to do Flutter or we try to find a Flutter developer. And the thing about Flutter developers is they're all newbies. They're all just starting out. So most of the time, I'm finding that Flutter developers are experienced developers in other things, and they're learning Flutter. So they might be a full stack developer or someone who's been around the block a few times. So they're more expensive to hire. So there's nobody who's like, that's their first language they learn. At least I haven't been able to find that. And I think most people, when they're looking for a job, if somebody's looking for a job, they don't go for the thing that nobody's hiring for. They go for the thing like PHP. Like I can't throw a stick out the window without hitting a PHP WordPress developer because there are so many of them. The market is so saturated, but Flutter is so new that there are no Flutter developers out there. Or if they are, they're not looking for a job. They're too busy coding their own stuff because they're playing around with it. So I keep looking at the tutorials thinking, maybe I should just do this with myself in Flutter, and that would be awesome. And it would be awesome, except everything else would get ignored. So let's see. Also, I think there's a good opportunity with Facebook Instant Games. I've looked at Facebook Instant Games, and I think that would be the ideal opportunity for, like, if you use HTML frameworks like Phaser or Construct 2, because then you could do apps, and also that. Now I know Corona did have an HTML library that was been coming soon for years and years. I don't know if that ever went live, but that's one of the things about HTML and JavaScript, or using the hybrid frameworks, is that you could port it over to like Facebook in-app games or instant games, as opposed to if you did something in native or something in Flutter, or I think, and probably React Native you could do but React Native is not really a game framework. So let's see, and I don't know about what's the other one? Unity. I don't know if Unity would port over to HTML5. Let's see, Pedro, hey, Data Plus Code, how's it going? Pedro Enrique, how to know is my app is a success? Is it making any money? Is it making any money? Are people downloading it? If people are downloading it and it's not making any money, then I would still call it a success, because you're just missing a key part of it, right? The hard bit, you talk to any shop owner, the hard bit is getting people to walk into their shop. And then if people are walking in their shop and leaving without buying anything, then they have to focus on something there. But if they focus on the inside of the shop, making sure all the displays are right, and nobody's walking in the front door, then that's not going to do them any good. In order for them to know whether or not their sales system is working, they have to have people coming through the door. So if you have people downloading your application and they're using it, then that's a great thing. If it's not making money, then you need to focus on that. So that's what I do. Tech Process One, love the channel. Hey, thanks very much. Thank you for your help. Check out my new iOS called iShareMem. Okay. You want us to have a look at it here on the channel? We here on the live stream. We could do that. Ultron, say thanks for doing this. Hey, no problem. Thanks for showing up, guys. It would be so embarrassing if I did the live stream and nobody showed up. I mean, I'll never tell you guys about it, but I did a video this week, and it will go out in a few days' time, where I talked about how it's easier to do videos when you know that they get about 200, 300 views each video. It's easier to do that than it was when you did it when there's no views, right? There's a lot of people I know who are starting their channels and they're not getting any views on their videos, right? And they're tempted to give up. But that's what starting is. That's what every YouTube channel is like that, and every app is like that. You put an app out there and nobody comes in, you could either say, I guess it's not worth doing, or you could say, hey, what am I doing wrong here? How can I improve this? And keep plugging away at it. And a lot of times that's the case. So I appreciate you guys showing up. Emilio says, Eric, I have a question regarding the new privacy regulations. Have you already translated your app's privacy policies into other languages? No, I haven't. Do you think it's important to do that? I will do it if they need me to do it. I mean, right now I am checking the box to make sure that we do have the privacy policies in place, and I don't intend on doing anything more than I need to when it comes to that. I think having the privacy policies and having the GDPR policies, I think it's a bad user experience. I think once people see that, I mean, if I see it, I mean, I remember when Facebook did it when just right before the 25th of May, they asked whether or not, do you want to receive personalized ads or non-personalized ads, right? I'm like, non-personalized ads. I don't want to see any ads at all. That was my answer, but I'm thinking non-personalized ads. Why should I make it easier for you, right? And that was my attitude to Facebook, and I know that's the attitude that everybody has to my apps. There's no easy way to ask that question, and it's just such a stupid rule. And the last thing I'm going to do is translate my privacy policy into other languages if I don't have to. So that's my whole thing on it. And nobody reads it anyway. So what difference does it make? To me, when I read legal text, it might as well be in another language to begin with. But that's just my opinion on it. Mega Man, hey, how's it going? Ed says, hey there. Do I really need Firebase? No, you don't. Because literally every Android developer I know keeps bringing it up. I still use DigitalOcean for serving content. We have both. So we have AWS, but hosting Linux. So it's almost like a server in the cloud. And we have DigitalOcean. We have one application which we use DigitalOcean, and we also have Firebase for real-time databases. Firebase is really good for having a cloud. They call it the serverless architecture. So you can have your cloud functions and your authentication and everything there. But, and this is the big one. I can remember with Parse, and I keep going back to Parse, and I know people get angry. Parse and Firebase are not the same thing. No, but it is trading all of your portability and putting it into one platform. So if for whatever reason Firebase goes away or they jack up their prices, then you have to rewrite a lot of code and migrate a lot of things over. Now it's no SQL, and so it's the data. It should still be possible, but you're still tied into that platform. And this is what happened with Parse. Parse decided. I remember going to Apps World convention in London and watched this Parse presentation. And Parse had been around for a few years already, but Facebook had just bought it. And they were telling you how you would be an idiot not to use Parse. Why would you set up your own servers when Parse does everything for you? So then we did a bunch of stuff in Parse. We did client stuff in Parse. And then months later, they announced that they were going to close down Parse, and you had like a month to move your code to something else, but they'll give you the open source code so you can set up your own Parse server. And I have certain apps that I just never even got around to doing it. I had a whole year to do it, but it wasn't worth doing, and I felt like an idiot for having not just put some of our own apps with Parse as the back end, but some of the client apps. And the client apps we had to fix, but my own apps was like, if it wasn't making enough money, it wasn't going to bother. So that is my fear with Firebase. But no, you don't have to do it. The thing I like about Firebase, and I was just at a client meeting earlier this week where I was recommending that we should do this in Firebase, is that you don't have to worry about the servers. You don't have to worry about uptime. You just have to, you can scale it up easily, but you don't know what the price is going to be, and you're locked into that one platform. So if you have your own thing, then like your own server, then if DigitalOcean jacks up their prices or whatever, they go out of business, you could just take that code and move it to another Linux server. That's easy to do. But if it's Firebase, you could take that Firebase and move it to another server, but the cloud functions would have to be rewritten. I mean, because it's based on JavaScript and Node anyway, it's not going to be that big a rewrite, but still going to be a rewrite all the same, and you might lose that real-time database access. So no, that's a really good point, Ed. I am a big fan of Firebase. I really am, but you don't need it. You build your own thing. Another thing is Firebase does is push notifications, and the benefit of that, it's like if you push notifications on your own, which you could by just sending, sorry if I'm getting too technical or not technical enough or whatever, you could send HTTP requests to the GCM servers. I guess it's Firebase servers now. They came out in April. Google sent out something saying all of your GCM stuff needs to be migrated to Firebase push notifications by the 19th of April or something like that. So I have some client apps we have to do that for. But you could send an HTTP request to them from your own DigitalOcean Linux server or through the APNS Apple push notification service. But you also have to keep track of the application, which ones they use when that person is registered, so you know which service to go through to send that push notification out. Which the nice thing about Firebase is it handles that for you. But there's also Azure, Microsoft Azure does a similar thing. And I wonder, and I know that AWS has a mobile platform, but I've never used that one, so I'm not sure if that works the same way. Sorry, just go off on a tirade there about Firebase. True Dream says, Eric, I have 258 downloads and 30 active users. Is it good? I think you probably need more. I mean, you're talking about for 30 active users. I would say so. I mean, what is it? They say somebody sent through a message in the comments talking about how the retention rate is like 5% on most Android applications. So at least you're getting some people in, but you need, get the downloads up. And the active users, I think that's good. But I think 258 downloads, I think you probably need a lot more. At least get people in there, at least trying it. If you have, because you always talk about the flow. If you were setting up, I talked about this before. If you're setting up pipes, like if you're a plumber, and I think it goes from here to here to here to here, you can only work at the source. That we have to fix that first. So the source is, are people finding your download page? Are they finding the Google Play page, right? If the answer is yes, and you got loads of people going there but nobody's downloading it, then you have to fix the next part. Why are people not downloading it based on that information? And if people are downloading it and they're installing and they're not keeping it, then you have to work on that part. And it's, but you can't, you have to go in that order because you don't know until you get to that bit. If that makes any sense. Let's see. Pedro Enrique says, "Thank you for your answer." No problem. Should I make new apps or start working in a company as a freelancer? Pedro, you do what you have to do in order to feed your family, to take care of yourself, right? If you go to work as a freelancer, do it in a way that you can do your own stuff later. That's what I would say, right? The goal should always be passive income and building your own products, right? Every time I've taken on a contract and I'm working on something, the reason I'm passionate about learning that technology is not because I like the technology, is in my mind I'm thinking I could do something for myself with this thing. So, it's I would think that if you do take on a freelancer job with a company, make sure that it's temporary. Just in your mind, don't go in. You don't want to be that guy who's always a freelancer, and the more you work on your own stuff, as a contractor in London, the highest rate I was paid was £600 a day, which is, I still can't, it's hard to I think I could probably still get that today. It's probably gone up, so I could probably go and get that. But I was more highly paid than a lot of the people that I worked with as contractors, because I was always working on the technology, and I knew enough about all these different technologies, not because I read on it, because I was just curious. It was more like I'm thinking about stuff I could build on my own. So I had all these projects that I was working on my own, thinking I'm going to build this website. I'm going to build this thing. And sometimes I would finish them. Actually, very rarely would I finish them. I would get 80% of the way done, and I think, I need to work on the login or whatever, and then it never goes live. And but it was that knowledge always helped me get better jobs. It always helped me bring that stuff on. So I think it's I would say, everyone else, let them know what you let Pedro know what you think, because I think I think working in a company as a freelancer is a means to an end. It's not the end itself, right? Doing your own app and making passive income from that is the end. That is the thing. The ideal situation is that you have enough passive income coming in that you could take on the work that you want to work on. You could turn down jobs. If you're a freelancer and you're going from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, then it might be more difficult. And if you do become a freelancer, make sure that you make far more than you need to for that. So a lot of people make the mistakes, and I did this at first too, of saying, okay, so I was making, as a permanent employee, I was making £38,000 a year. So when I went to do a contract, I thought, well, I guess I'll just have to divide that by 250 for, or however many days of the year that I worked, and then that would be my daily rate. But that's not consistent work. So basically double that. And I was making more than double what I was making as that, because you have to, as a freelancer, you have to be ready for those times you're out of work. In fact, just always be prepared. So Zid Ma, hey, how's it going? Let's see. True Dream said, I tried Facebook campaign, spent $5 and got 40 downloads. Is it good? Let's see. So $5, 40 downloads. That's 20 cents. Is that 20 cents a install? No, it's about 25 cents. Yeah. I think it could probably be better, but it depends. If you can get them to spend money within the app, then I think that would be good. It depends on what your goals are. For me, I think it would be, if I spent $5 and got 40 downloads, and I think I would check to see if they downloaded the app and immediately uninstalled it, then I wouldn't say it is. So this is the hard thing about using advertisements. You're always thinking about the lifetime value of the user. If the user uninstalls immediately, the lifetime value of the user is 0. So you're spending 25 cents to get that user, then you spent 25 cents on nothing, right? But if they keep it over time and they end up clicking on ads or making purchases, then that's worth the purchase. But from my life, the average user I get is like 5 cents or 2 cents. So doing ads has to be really, beneficial. And you talk to any advertisement network, they talk about the lifetime user value, lifetime value, LVPU, LVPU, the lifetime value of the paying user. All right, so to acquire that user, if they're going to spend $2 over the lifetime, then you spend $1 to acquire that user. But if you don't have that kind of application, then you can't use that. I mean, at least not consistently. You do it for bursts, like for rankings, but you can't do it consistently like a lot of them do. And a lot of times I sit there and I'll look at the apps thinking, how can we increase the conversion rate on this? Maybe we just need to look at this again and everything. So let's see. Simbaz says, thanks, man. I've been watching your videos for a while last month, and I launched my first app. In the first 20 days, I already earned $2,500. It's all about patience. 20 days? That's not patience. Well, good for you. Congratulations, Simbaz. That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I think a lot of us wish we were in that situation. Let's see. Hussein says, I got a job offer today for a good position. Cool. I accepted it immediately. Dude, just play along with him. Lead him along a little bit. Because as a new graduate is the only way I can make good money. That's true. But I will always work for passive income in the future. I think that's good. You have to, sometimes you just have to play the game, right? You could be, when you meet somebody who says, I quit my job because I want to work on my own apps, right? It's like, as an app developer, that's kind of a risky thing to do. Better to take on the job and then try to find those hours to work on your own thing. Try to invest into your own future and your own applications, right? And it's difficult when you work for somebody else, because a lot of times it's like they feel like they own you, or they don't feel they own you, but it's, if you've ever been called at night for a job, or you're working a job and you were like there at 10 o'clock at night because it was whatever, a release or something like that, or it does get a bit like you start to feel like, my life is not my own anymore, and you need to find those times. You need to fight for that time to do those kind of things. So let's see. Tech Process 1 says, what is your app True Dreams? Okay. Emilio says, how do you measure the average user lifetime value? That's a good question. There's a calculation somewhere. If you go into Firebase will show it. Because Firebase, if you put your purchases into Firebase Analytics, and again, like we said, Ed, you don't have to use Firebase, but it's good for analytics. It's good for a lot of things. But you could do that. So it's, what is the calculation? There's different ways of doing it. Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my number of downloads for the day and add up my number. This might be wrong. Add up my ad mob revenue plus my in-app purchases for the day and divide it, right? And the number is really low if I do that. It's like 0.02, like it's like 2 cents or something. It's a really low value because of the advertisements. But you also have this thing, the average value of a paying user. So some people will just never make in-app purchases. So you have to think the ones that will make in-app purchases, how much are they spending? And then you could do your UAC campaign. So if you use UAC, you could actually specify people who are likely to make a purchase, and they use machine learning, and they could do that. I don't know how well it works, but we have that going on in some of ours, so that we could try to. We only want people who are likely to make a purchase to come in, and we get a lot of purchases every day. And I say a lot, it's like 20 pounds a day. I mean, it's the ad mob revenue is so much higher. Joe Marie Ailing. Hey, how's it going? Hey, it's Joe. One of your developers on EarSpy before. Yeah, Joe worked with us before. Congrats on your vlog. Been watching your videos. I'm an indie game developer now. Keep making the vids. Hey, thanks, Joe Marie. Yeah, Joe Marie was on our team for a while. And we have we have a big alumni of people who've worked with us before, and it's nice to see you here, Joe. Let's see. Carol VDW says, holy crap, Eric, you've been online all this time. Me and 5 others were waiting in the scheduled live stream the whole time. You started a new one? I'm sorry, Carol. I got to figure out how the live stream thing works. I schedule it, and I don't know how to start the scheduled one, and I'm so sorry about that. let's see. Aditya Varma says, "What is your opinion on hybrid apps? Is it going to beat native apps?" I think native apps are always going to beat hybrid apps in terms of performance, but not in terms of time and cost. And you have to balance. I mean, anybody who does anything business related, you have to balance the time and the cost. I mean, there's certain things that hybrid apps could do that native apps can't do, which is be portable, make progressive web apps. If you want to have the same code on the node and in the client, then that's gonna be better. But because it runs in a web view, a lot of times you're dependent on that web view. However, a lot of the stuff that we do is hybrid. So a lot of the stuff that we've done for clients is hybrid. I think to me, the benefit of the lower costs and the fact that we can do it for both platforms, for Android and iPhone at the same time, is better than the native. I mean, but it all depends. So we have to go through those questions. When we have a new project come in, I think, can we do this with hybrid? Because we prefer to do this with hybrid, or with React Native, or something. Hopefully one day Flutter, but if that can't be done, then we'll do it in native. And sometimes it depends on the developers. Like we have a lot of people contact us and they say they've fallen out with their other developers for whatever reason, which is always a red flag. Cause you think, what's going on there? Is it the developer's fault, or is it the client's fault? You have to think about that and make that evaluation early on. And when they they'll come to you with the native code because they're developers. That's what they knew, right? Sometimes as a developer, you say, that's what I know, so that's what I'm going to do, and they do it in native. Well, I've tried to get some of my apps that are done in native moved to hybrid just so that it was more portable and the cost of maintaining it was less, but you don't. So that's just my opinion. By the way, I did a video on why we're not using the Ionic framework anymore, and I am just hated in that video. The bad comments in that one, just like, but I was just being honest. I was just expressing my opinion, and people are going in there saying, "Oh, this is just clickbait. You're just trying to do this. You don't know anything. If you really knew what you're talking about." And I was just, if I ever want to feel bad, I'll just go through, read the comments on that video. And every so often I think about moving it, and I think I'm not going to censor myself because people don't like what I say. So True Dream says Tech Process. Its name is Fire Range. Cool, on Google Play. Billy says, have you ever been banned from Google Play? Was banned for the first time 2 years ago, but now 2 days ago Google banned me again. Are you talking about ban like the whole account, or are you talking about a suspension on one of the apps? Because I've had a few apps suspended, but I've never had the account banned. It scares me to death. I mean, it scares me to think that could happen. So, but we'll see. Flighter 1990 says, is it even possible to get the first 10,000 downloads without using ads? Yeah, I would imagine it would, but you'd have to think about how you have to spread the word somehow. It could be featured by Google Play or the App Store. I mean, that's one way. Or you could have a big social media following, or you get people to share it. But yeah, I think it probably is. But ads are the shortcut. Ads are the. I mean, imagine. Let's say you're a guy who's dating, right? You just want to go out and get a date with somebody. Let's say that, but you're really charismatic and you know lots of people and you could just go out there and do it. Or let's say that you're like really secluded and you don't have any of those means at your disposal and you need to get out and meet people. An advertisement is a shortcut. It's like the dating app. It's gonna put you in front of the right people, and it's gonna charge you to do it, but it's gonna put you in front of the people you need to put in front of, because it would take too long to go out and find out who all those people are. Like, let's say you go out and you post it to all the Facebook groups and all the, you're trying to get it in front of as many people through tweeting and everything like that. It would take forever. Or try to get it mentioned in the news or press releases, and there's all these other things you could do, but it would take forever. Or you could just pay a little bit of money and have it show up in front of the person that you want to see it. So if your app is about people who want to learn Chinese, you could put it in front of people who already said that they want to learn Chinese, but it's going to cost you. And the more popular that Facebook gets as a platform, then the more expensive it gets, because it can only show so many ads, and only in those for those keywords. So you start to outbid each other, if that makes sense. So Pedro says, one last question, I promise. You can ask many questions you want. How much to charge for my apps? I have 600,000 downloads and charge $2 per annual subscription per month, earn $2,000. That's fantastic. I think that's really good. I've never used subscriptions yet, and I really should, because every time I talk to someone who uses subscriptions, they're kind of giddy with excitement. They're like, they paid for it, but they have to pay again. In fact, one of the things I was thinking about is how many people have contacted me and said, hey, I've deleted this app, please stop my subscription. And I'm like, there's no subscription. People think that they're subscribing when they make these one-time in-app purchases, because if they are, maybe I can increase the conversion rate by saying this is just a one-time purchase, or do the subscriptions and see if that helps any. But no, I think that sounds good. I mean, how much can you charge? I think I've done a video about this years ago, where my first application I charged 99 cents because I thought that's what everybody pays. I thought that's like a normal thing, so 99 cents. Who would say no to 99 cents, right? And the truth is, some people are buyers and some people aren't. Some people will never buy anything on a phone. They just, and I'm for the longest time, I never bought anything online. And once I started doing it, I buy things online all the time. Now I'd rather not do anything. So I'm like a perfect buyer because I've made that decision. And there are certain people, but for the longest time, I would always go for the free services, right? Why would I pay for this if it's free, right? And then after a while, you start making a little bit more money. You think, you know what? It's worth me not having the ads on this. So you'll make that kind of purchase, and then you become a different class of person. So it's like there's two classes of people. There's buyers and there's non-buyers, right? And the price, like if you charge 10 cents or $3, it's less of a difference than if you charge free or 1 cent, right? Because those people, they're just not buyers. They're just not they don't want to give you their credit card details. They don't want that transaction to happen. But going from 99 cents to $3.99, that worked too. Like, people were still making purchases, right? It wasn't like the price wasn't the problem. It was just some people are buyers and some people aren't. So you have to work around that. So eventually you go to your too high and you're making less money, or you go to so you increase the price and you have less people making that purchase, but you're still making more money because you raise the price, and you have less support, but you don't. So like, let's say for my biggest application, I think I found that when I lowered the price, when I went from $3.99 back to 99 cents, I still had roughly the same amount of purchases, maybe a few more purchases, but it was still less. I was still making less per day. So you have to play around with that a little bit. If that makes any sense. I mean, if that makes any sense at all. Sometimes I feel like I'm just blah, 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 blah. Sorry. So sorry about that. If I'm ever not clear about anything, please let me know. Let's see. Simbaz says, I have 45,000 plus downloads in the first 20 days of launch. I got downloads via sponsored videos from YouTubers and spent up to $400. My income comes from ad bump. Interesting. So you were able to just go through. Influencer marketing is something, again, I've never tried, and one of my clients has. One of my clients was telling me how I think he spent like $50 or $200. I can't remember what it was. To a really popular Instagram person in his niche, or in the niche of the application, and that helped get a lot of downloads. So it was different than what we all do, which is I'm going to pay for an impression, and it's just going to go up there. You have to, you could pay for somebody to just mention your app in their videos or something like that. Now, I've had people ask me how much I charge to talk about their apps, and right now I don't have I've always declined. I always think I'm going to lose viewers if all I do is sponsored stuff, and it's the chicken and egg thing. If all I did was talk about sponsored things, then it wouldn't be worth watching the channel anymore. But then it would make revenue. So even though and I've had people ask if I would do it for free. Like, hey, would you just talk about my app on your channel? And I think, well, if I did that, then people would stop watching, and it's not free to do because we would lose viewers, and it's not. We just be open and honest. I said I I talk about my own apps, but I don't demo them. I don't say, hey guys, you should download this app. Right? It would just be, I think that would be less of a, I mean, it would be, I would feel sleazy doing that. Let's see. Oh yeah, True Dreams would say, Simbaz, which YouTubers can you use to share channels? Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure he does give away his secrets, but let's see. Aditya Varma says, does Google is going to replace Android with Fuchsia in coming years? I had a comment about that, or it may have been on Facebook. I can't remember where it was. Somebody was asking me about that. I would imagine that, like with the Google Chromebook, they started to support Android applications for some different types, right? And it was almost like if you were going to come out with a new operating system, it would make more sense to support lots of different applications, because an operating system without any apps would be ridiculous. So I don't see why they would not support Android going into those new operating systems. That's just my opinion, because they already have this entire developer community. And if you're like, let's say you're out to buy a new computer or a new phone or whatever, and you're going to look at which one has the most applications because it's the most useful. This is one of the reasons why I think Windows Phone didn't do so well, because I mean, when I spoke to people, every person I spoke to who had a Windows Phone was almost like telling me how fantastic it was. It was so great, but there's not as many apps, right? And it was almost like they were defensive about the fact they had a Windows Phone, because I would tease them a little bit. But I think the developer community is Google has worked so hard to build a developer community, and they continue to work compared to Apple especially. They continue to work so hard to build a developer community that I think they're going to keep that developer community. Let's see. True Dream says, Eric, will you sell EarSpy in the future when you think it's not doing well, or do you think you will keep it forever? Would I sell it? I would sell it, but it makes consistent revenue. And it's not like the kind of thing where you'd sell it, like it wouldn't be worth buying if it started to decline, right? I think right now is something that continues to generate revenue, and it comes pouring in. If somebody came to me and said, they wanted to buy it so that it could get their own revenue, then they would have to pay enough so that at least for the next few years that I could not have to worry about that revenue being gone. So that's the way I go for that. So I think if you're gonna buy anything, I mean, any investor, which is what it is, if you're gonna buy an app, it would basically be investing in an app. You would want to invest in something that was making money or had the potential to make money, and not something that used to make money but it's on its way out. So at least that's But I've had people contact me. Actually, it's like an automated thing. Somebody contact me and say, we would like to know whether or not you're willing to sell Overpass, or whether or not you're willing to sell EarSpy. And I say, well, I'm not willing to sell Overpass. EarSpy, what kind of numbers we talking about? And they'll say something like 300 pounds or something like $300. And I think, well, no, I'm not. Thank you very much. It makes more than that in like 3 days. So 2 days. So let's see. Simbaz says, you have to make research on YouTube for channels related to your niche and contact them and ask them if you would like to sponsor their next video. Simbaz, that's a really good point. So many times, I mean, I was asked a few times this week about what do I think about app review websites and how do you pitch your app to app review websites. And my whole thing is, nobody downloads an app because they read an app review website. Even like in the videos that I do, people will say, hey, download my app, please. But odds are, unless the app is meant for people who are app developers, they're not going to apply to them. But if your app is let's say a language learning app, then you might go to other language learning channels like my applications. Or if it's something to do with rental cars, whatever, you would go for car channels, because that would be relevant. The people who would download your app and who are likely to make purchases, that's what they would be watching. You have to think about who your user is and where they go, and that's where you have to do it. So I think, Simbaz, that's a really good point. You can't just go to anyone, or you can't go to like I want to advertise my app, I will go to a website that advertises apps. That's not going to make sense because none of the viewers are going to go to that website. And I've had this. There was when I started. Sorry, I'm a tangent here. When I started Overpass, and I just needed to get clients, and it was like I talked about it before. It took me forever to get clients, and so it was an outsourcing thing. And I kept getting contacted by Outsourcing Magazine, and they said we could put your ad in Outsourcing Magazine, a full-page ad, and it's seen by these business owners all over whatever. And I was really considering it, and I'm thinking, could I really afford to put an ad for Overpass in Outsource Magazine? And then it struck me that no business owner who needs outsourcing would ever buy Outsource Magazine, right? That would it wouldn't make sense. They're not going to subscribe to it. You know who would subscribe to Outsource Magazine? Other outsource companies, right? That's all it was. I would be advertising to them, and it wouldn't make any sense. I would have to think about the niche, like what were the business owners, where would they go, and what would they look at? And it was, and you see this all the time. You know, you get contacted by companies saying, hey, we can advertise for you, whatever, and you think that's not even where my users would go, right? And you have to think about where would your users go. Let's see. Zohaib Zohaib Ansari says, how did your first app do? It did fairly well, but not at first. It took a while. This is the thing. You release your first app, and I was still working a contract, so I had this app, and it's getting a little bit of steam slowly, and people will say, hey, how's your app doing? I said, it's making, 10 pounds a day. I remember it was making 10 pounds a day, and they said, oh, that's cute. No, that's like, you can get like coffee for, you get like 2 pounds a day. You can get like coffee for that. That's amazing. Wow, if you just had like 100 more of those, and it was always like no, that's really cute. That's really cute the way you did it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, how do we get it more? How do we get it bigger? And just keep working on it, because I'm thinking, because you see a trickle. I always think about it like if you're a gold miner, right, and you start mining for gold, and you see like a little trickle of gold, you come, or like a little vein of gold. You don't think, I guess that's all there is. You start thinking, oh, wait a second, I'm onto something here. How do I get more of this? And so you keep at it, right? Whereas if you don't find anything, you don't find anything. So once you're making a little bit of money through your app, you're thinking, there's potential here. I got to figure out how to maximize this, right? Because if you're not making anything, then that's one thing. You might be you're still running on faith that there are users out there. But if you're getting a few users and it's not enough to live off of, and it's not enough to support you, then you have to think, but that you're onto something, right? And that's such a rare thing. When you talk to normal people, not normal people, when you talk to people about passive income, a lot of people, unless it's their retirement investment, they're not making passive income on anything, unless they're like 401k programs or something like that. It's a foreign thing to them. I mean, maybe they've read about it. I'll do an ebook and maybe I'll make passive income through that. But it's such a rare thing to happen to the normal person, and the fact that you have some of it means that you get fever. I just need to get more of this. How do we get more of this coming in? So, let's see. Prash says, oh wait, let's see. I'll go back. I missed a few questions here. Let's see. Prash says, Eric, would you be willing to cross promote your apps with us or any other developers with push notifications? I don't know. I started doing a video on push notifications earlier this week. Somebody had asked about whether or not I'd use them for marketing purposes. And one of the things I think about push notifications that I'm fearful of is I don't want to end up with uninstalls because I do push notifications. So it's something that I have not even done to cross promote my own applications. And I think it would be, whenever you get a push notification, which is an ad for another application, you think, where did that come from? Because that one's going. We're getting rid of that one. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't done that. Even in my own applications, I've not used push notifications to cross promote, but I have used house ads. I've used house ads because I already have ads there. It means a little bit less revenue because it could be an actual ad, and we've also used something called nag screens, which we used initially, where it would just have a pop-up saying, hey, you should try our other app. And we've tried that before, but a lot of times we don't have the same crossover. Like the audience that likes one of the apps is not the same audience would like the other one. So if that makes sense. But let's see. Flighter1990 says, I would like to earn 10 pounds per day. it's possible. I mean, you know that it's possible. I mean, so if you don't mind me asking, Flighter 1990, how much are you making a day now from your applications? Talking about combined in-app purchases and through AdMob. So I've talked about it on my videos before. It's about the same. It's about the 100 pounds a day mark if you talk about both app stores and AdMob, and it's just just goes up and down like that. But it stays in this realm of around the same each day. Let's see. Mega Man says, Eric, do you make money from AdMob or purchases IAP? For both of them. I make money from both of them. So most of it comes from AdMob. Like I said, some people are purchasers and some people aren't. Some people will never consider making a purchase on an application, and there's nothing you do about them but hope for that little bit of ad revenue that comes in. And there's other ones that will make the purchases. So like I said, the India is an emerging market. Like we see a lot of our downloads come from India, where the eCPM on ads is really low, and I'm seeing a lot less purchases come from there. But I see purchases coming from the U.S. So that says both of them. So like I've done videos about this where I talk about my daily revenue spreadsheet, where Rowena on my team goes through and does that each day, and it stays about the same. Let's see. And I think have we answered all the questions? Oh, there was one question. Oh, I'm sorry. So KP, let me just show you this email here. So somebody has sent me an email to say, can you please talk about it on your live stream today? Let's just do that. Let me share my screen here. And it was asking a question that I do not know the answer to. So it was asking whether or not the repetitive says, how do you think the following developer accounts or apps will get affected by the Google Play repetitive content policy? This is a developer account with only radio apps. For each radio, it's a different country, etc. So, and I don't know. This, to me, the big unknown at the moment is what repetitive content policy is going to affect. So for me, so he sent me this, he or she sent me this developer account where all the apps are the same, but they're different countries, right? So this is very similar to the kind of situation that I have, where we have different language learning applications, and the template is the same, but the graphic assets are different, and the marketing is different, the audience is different. And one of the things that like I had said was, I don't want to have one application, because a developer, like let's say if this developer here was to have one application with all of these inside it, they would have less real estate for marketing. They would have less keywords that they could market. They would have, their title would have, like Radio Bulgaria would be easily found by somebody who says, I want to find radio stations in Bulgaria. Whereas if it was called Radio World and it was all packaged inside it, that would be harder for them to market that to all those people. Whereas another competing developer who only did Bulgaria and their app may actually be inferior, they would do better if the repetitive content policy required a container app for this. And this is my whole thing with the Apple. Apple was very much like, oh yeah, you have to combine all these. So, but I don't, to answer the question, I don't know what it's going to be like. It really is, I don't think any of us will, but this is the kind of thing that when we talk about the repetitive content policy or the 4.3 policies on Apple, this is the kind of stuff we worry about. So if I go through and I show you Mandarin Bubble Bath, which is my app, and we took this Mandarin Bubble Bath and we did Spanish language Bubble Bath and Hebrew Bubble Bath, and the graphic assets are all different, the different content within it. They have different audio files, everything is different, but the gameplay is very much the same between them. So it's the speed is different on different languages. So if I show you Hebrew Bubble Bath, it's this, and if I go back and show you Mandarin, it's a different experience. I mean, the graphic assets are different, but the gameplay is still the same. Now, Apple, what they told me was, you need to put this all in one application because they're so similar. And my whole thing was, actually, somebody searching for Hebrew application is not going to look for a Bubble Bath game that includes all of them in there. And my whole problem with the repetitive content policy if it's going to be that bad. But definitely my problem with 4.3 is that if I take all of my applications and put them in one container application, while technically it's possible, it might even be easier to manage from my side. From a marketing point of view, there are different audiences for these different applications. So it would be difficult for me to target those keywords to different populations, whereas a competing developer who only did Hebrew language learning games would far outrank me, even if their app is not as good, because they only have one language. They could put it in their title as many times as they want. So that's what we talked about. So I wanted to talk about, just mention that really quick, because it was an email I got in saying, could you please talk about this on your live stream? So even though I don't know if KP is actually here today, let's see. But Sandeep Bandari says, but Eric, the thing is, Google won't give many chances like Apple. They will suspend the account. I'm really hoping that's not the case. If you, I've had a bunch of apps removed. I got like a removal, and I thought it was a suspension. I was like, oh my God. I had like 4 apps removed a couple weeks ago, and they weren't even published. I'd unpublished them a couple years ago, and it was because I had not done the content policy on them. And the reason I hadn't done the content policy on them, because they were not published. I wouldn't see a reason to publish it, do the content policy, and then unpublish it again. But so I still have these removals on there. But I could still go through and resubmit it because it's a removal, it's not a suspension, right? I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with the repetitive content policy if that happens, because we don't know what's going to happen. Is that there's going to be removals and there's not going to be suspensions. If there are suspensions, I think there'll be a lot of bad press about it. And I think if you appealed it, I think your appeal could do that. I mean, I think your appeal could be listened to, right? And if you do need to combine them, then we cross that bridge when we come to it. But right now, I'm thinking, because the wording and the language is so unspecific and all of our apps are different, like we all wondering, how is this going to affect us? None of us really know, right? What I'm hoping is that we're not going to be in a situation where one developer gets treated differently than another developer. So like, let's say somebody gets their account suspended because they have repetitive content, and then they come, and then I say, well, mine haven't been suspended, and then and then it's unfair in that way, or vice versa. It'd be even worse if mine are suspended and other people weren't. Or they go back to Google and say, it's not fair that his wasn't suspended and then his gets suspended, and then we get this whole thing. But I do think that the Google Play suspensions a lot of the times are, if they genuinely feel that you're trying to trick the system, or if you're trying to do something that's illegal. And that whole repetitive content thing, it sounds like, to me, I'm optimistic. I don't think they would say, that's illegal, that's obviously repetitive content, where we're like, none of us genuinely, we don't know. We don't really know what repetitive content means. If you have a free app and a paid app, is that repetitive content? If you have different ones that are genuinely meant for different people, then is that repetitive content? Or is if you have let's say you have a Flappy Birds clone and you have 50 Flappy Birds clones, that's the kind of thing we think that's definitely repetitive content, because that's exactly the same app for all of them. So it'd be interesting to find out. And I'm hoping it's not going to be as bad as we think. So Carol VDW says, but these app removals could be good for us, right? Yes, I think it could be good for new developers. I mean, I talked about this before. Did you talk about, like, when I first started getting these app masterminds, I was talking to people who were just cranking out apps. I was like, well, we do 3 apps a day, right? I got these outsourced developers, and we're doing 3 apps a day, and they're just, we just use whatever, and we're just buying code and reskinning, and that's why we have so much junk out there. And that's why somebody new coming into the scene is finding it hard to rank for keywords, because we have so much junk out there. Even I don't like to remove the apps that aren't performing well, because I'm thinking, well, maybe one day they will, right? But if I was forced to, then I would say, okay, well, in that case, this one's going, and maybe that's what we need. We just need a good spring cleaning, and hopefully that will do it for all the new developers coming out. But I'm just afraid it's going to affect some of us existing developers. Let's see. Just a few more here. Mark Gunn. Hey, Mark says, Hi, Eric. How many developers do you have at Overpass, and are they iOS, Android, or do they do a bit of both? Also, do you create your own backend software or use something like Firebase? We do both, and we try to outsource as much as possible. A lot of times it's me doing the code, but it's always a mistake when it is me doing the code, because we get in a situation where we can't. The amount of developers, I did have one full-time developer, and he left. I have 2 designers. I have 1 VA. No, we do have 1 developer now also, and I have teams that I work with, and we have to work in a certain way. So it depends. So it has to be fluid, because it depends on the amount of projects that we have coming in. I've thought about hiring a full-time developer. It's difficult if you have an Android or an iOS full-time developer, because you always have to keep them busy. Whereas if you can outsource that to people who you really trust and who you worked with before, then that works a lot better, because it's, when you don't have any work going on, it's not your problem anymore to make sure that everything's going on. But yeah, no, hopefully that makes sense. And it's always, depends on the client work we come in. Sometimes, like I did have a developer who was an Ionic full stack developer. He worked with me for about 2 years. Joe Marie, Ailing Joe, he worked with me for a few months, I think, on iOS side. So it depends on what we need and when. And so, that's the only answer I have to that. Let's see. Emilio says, I believe that repetitive content policy is going into effect on August 24th. Ooh, what day is today? Oh, it's like next week. All right, maybe I have to make some decisions this week. Oh, it's like... Oh. Simbaz says, Eric, I plan to release my new dating app this week, and I added the subscription feature to remove ads for $5 a month. I still feel like the price is on the high side, but not sure. Can you advise? I think $5 a month is high too, but it depends on how often the app is used, right? If it's I think you should play around with it a little bit. And if you do lower it, then if you have people who are using it consistently, then you can say for the next 5 days we do it at $3 or something like that. But I think you could I think just play around with it. I can't say, because it depends on the user experience. Like for me, I pay for Runtastic, and that costs probably around $5 a month or something, right? To me, that's worth it. But I've seen other applications, like a barcode scanner application, which it wanted to charge me like $3 a month, and that's not worth it to me. But it depends on the individual users, and the only way you're going to be able to know is to test it out with them. So play around with it. They call it the price elasticity, so you can see what works. When you raise your price so high that you get diminishing returns, that you're making less money, then that's too high. But if you're too low, where you get a lot more customers but you're still making less money, then that's too low. But if you find that spot that's in between, and you just have to play around with that. So, which is not a very good answer, I know, but I wish I could say no, it should be $4.95, but I don't want to say that, because that might be too high or too low. Let's see. Flighter1990 says, if you want to have a demo version of my paid app, is it count as a repetitive content? If I want to have a demo version, I don't know. How would that work? Wouldn't that be like a test flight type of thing? Oh yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I don't know. That we really don't know about this repetitive content thing. Sandeep says, Eric, make some money making videos, bro. Show us some ways to make pounds, lol. Your ways to earn from apps video in a minute of Overpass was great. Oh yeah, we should do some more on that side of things. So that's really what everybody is interested in. Actually, that's not true. One of the things I like about indie developers is a lot of times they want to make money doing what they love. So they want to just make enough money to live. So they want to be able to do that. And there's other developers who are like, I just want to make money. I don't care what I have to develop. What's the best way to make money, right? And that's like, it's I don't think that's why we have so many bad apps out there. There's people out there who just want to make money doing what they love. So if they can make enough money, they can just focus on these applications, which they love doing, then that makes sense. But if it's somebody who's just, like I talked to a lot of developers in the past, and they say, all you have to do is look at the top charts on the App Store, and then whatever they're doing, you just do that, right? Well, that's not going to work because everybody has that same strategy, which is why when I show you the ear spy copycats, there are loads of them. They just copy what they just copy my app just almost exactly. They'll just tweak a little bit of things here and there, and there's no originality in it. And whereas somebody could easily come up with a better idea, and then really give some competition there. So let's see. The barcode scanners developer probably really has a lot of costs getting data. I've looked into that. Really, barcodes? Well, yeah, maybe. But it doesn't seem like it was worth. I mean, it depends on what you're doing. If it's just somebody like just playing around with something, or if it's something that is part of my job, then it's different, right? I pay for applications and subscriptions on a lot of things, but other things I just don't think it's worth it. So anyway, what time is it? Oh my God, we've already been here an hour again already. Oh, remember I told you how I was going to keep it under an hour? All right, so everyone, thank you so much for showing up today. If there's any other questions that I haven't answered, please let me know. Let me know in the comments if you think it would be good video content, because we'll try to talk about that. And again, sometimes the answer is, I don't know. What do you guys think? And I'll hopefully put it back to the group. And I think that's probably the best thing about the live streams, is because I don't mind saying that I don't know something. Or like when you say, what do you think about subscriptions? I have to say, I don't know, I've never tried it, but has anybody else? Because if it works, dude, I'll do it, right? I can't say, oh, you should use subscriptions because subscriptions are great, but I've never done it. And I've worked, so many people have contacted me saying, Eric, we can help you with your app downloads. We can help you with this. We can help you with that. And they start telling you things, well, you should use this. You should use that. You should use this. And you say, are you using it? And they won't answer, right? It's just like, I could tell you how to be, like, let's say I know nothing about cycling, right? I know nothing about riding a bike competitively, but I could go in and say, I'll be your coach. So basically you have to get some Lycra, you have to get some special shoes, you have to get the little handlebars that go forward because those will really help you with your speed and everything like that. And if you said, have you used these things? Has it helped you? And I was like, well, it doesn't really matter because it's, because I'm trying to sound smart. And I think if I talk about like subscriptions work and I haven't used it, then that's not really gonna help. And I think the benefit of us all talking together is that we can share our experiences. Like Simbaz says, he talks about doing the influencer marketing, which sounds fantastic. Now I'm gonna go away from this thinking, how can we use influencer marketing? So it's, because it has worked for him, and I find it much more beneficial if somebody says, I've used rewarded ads and they sucked. I didn't really get anything from them. Or I've used this platform and it was okay, because we could be honest with each other about what works and what doesn't, and not all hyperbole, because we all want to sound smart. We can all be open and honest here, and hopefully that's helpful. And I'm going to stop talking now because I'm going to run out of breath. Thank you very much, everybody, for showing up this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the daily video. I hope you guys like the new editor, Marvin. I'm so pleased about the videos. We're trying to make them a little bit better quality. We're trying to up our game, right? No more amateur stuff. We're gonna try to get better at this thing. Because you can only do one. You can only get better, get worse, stop, or stay the same. And we're gonna get better. So hopefully it's been helpful. And thanks, everyone. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.